All right, today's beer is the first of its style that I've reviewed, so we'll go through the style a little bit. This is a beer from Heavy Seas Brewery, which we've already done a few, I think just one Heavy Seas beer, the IPA, I believe, out of Baltimore, Maryland. This one is called Heavy Seas Winter Storm, Category 5 Ale. Comes in at 7.5% alcohol by volume. Basically, right now we're waiting for the Frankenstorm to hit us in a few days. Don't know if that's going to happen or not. You'll probably know when you see this, if it did. And we will see if we're going to get that huge, gigantic, perfect storm scenario. But this is the perfect beer to drink while anticipating the news, whether or not we're going to get this storm or not. A Heavy Seas Winter Storm Category 5 Ale, as I said, 7.5% alcohol by volume. This is an extra special, extra strong bitter. Known shorthand as an ESB. I haven't done one of these yet, as I mentioned. Usually a more aggressive beer, and usually a little bit more bitter, hence the term bitter, but not really that bitter. You might think an extra strong bitter is going to be really extra, really bitter, but that's not the style. Not quite as bitter as you might think by the name. Very low carbonation. Usually the colors range in darkish tones. The malts are toasty and range from fruity, that kind of thing. And basically, I'm not sure if I've ever had a beer of this style. This beer is brewed between October and October and December, rather, from Heavy Seas. It has 50 IBUs. So not too unhoppy, but not too malty either, so almost in the middle. They use a lot of West Coast hops as well as UK bitter hops in this as well. They use something called UK Goldings and Fuggle hops, I believe that's the other term, as well as the Cascade, the Centennial, and the Warrior hops as well. As far as the malts, you got your two-row, your crystal, your caramel, and your chocolate malt. So lots of ingredients in this extra special bitter or extra strong bitter from Heavy Seas. It does have a little bit of a write-up here with a full ruby hue, rich malty character, and earthy hop aroma. Winter Storm is an original and imperial ESB for the winter months. So heading into the winter months, it's late October, and we're waiting on a hurricane, which I don't ever remember a time in my life when I'm in the end of October waiting on a hurricane. But here we go. Winter Storm. There's the logo, as you can see. Of course, Heavy Seas does have a lot of kind of the same variations on the same logo, or different variations of the same logo. As we'll open her up right now, we'll pour her into a pint glass. That's the common vessel for an ESB. And as we pour her into this Lancaster Brewing Company pint glass, we see a very, very caramelly kind of color to it. Almost a... I'm seeing a very, very similar color to an Oktoberfest beer, an Oktoberfest Marzen. Not really getting any head on this beer, almost just a very, very thin head, and even as I mentioned that, it's really dissipating. So basically almost no head in this beer. It's definitely going to have a very, very interesting complexion to it. I'm getting a fine particulates kind of wafting up here, so that's something you definitely don't get with the Oktoberfest. But all the other appearances from this basically look like an Oktoberfest. Let's see if it smells like an Oktoberfest. I'm almost getting the same kind of aroma as an Oktoberfest. I was almost joking about that, but you pass this in front of my nose again, I would probably think it was an Oktoberfest Marzen. Not the case. Not smelling very bitter to me. I am getting that the pronounced caramel smell. Not getting the chocolate, the caramel malt, or I'm sorry, the chocolate malt that's apparently used in this. But definitely getting the caramel malt. Smells a little toasty, tiny bit toasty, but not really getting a pronounced aroma from this beer. And like I said, just zero head on this beer almost. It's kind of a surprise at 7.5% alcohol. So let's try Winter Storm Category 5 Ale from Heavy Seas. Yeah, this is tasting like a hybrid. Definitely tasting like a hybrid. At first taste, you might kind of think it's going to start going the IPA direction, and then it almost kind of cuts itself in mid-taste. And I don't know if this is standard for the style. However, the malts certainly take over and kind of cut that hop bitterness out a little bit with it. I can see why it's called an extra strong bitter or an extra special bitter. It isn't too bitter. I'm not giving a bitter beer face at all, which is good. But I am definitely tasting how the tanginess might be curtailed a little bit. So let's. Definitely a unique kind of style. Getting a bit of a harsh kind of aftertaste to this beer. The malts are just so prevalent in this after a while that it really starts taking over the whole complexion of the beer. This is a good tasting beer. Not sure if this is my kind of style, but I have to judge this as it pertains to the style, just assuming that this is a beer that is true to its style. And reading the description, it tasted just basically everything that the style said. That said, it's not blowing me away. However, I can probably drink this during wintertime and be totally satisfied. So I'm going to give Winter Storm, a Heavy Seas Winter Storm Cat 5 Ale, I'll give this a 7 out of 10.